I'm going to show you how to make the world's most delicious standing rib roast with the reverse sear method.
Big thanks to Napoleon Grills for sponsoring this episode.
Alright, this is it. You gotta have one. Every holiday season has gotta have at least one rib roast. At least in my opinion, because if you're with a big group of people and you want to feed them and you want to give them something special, something to show them that you appreciate the whole year that they spend with you and put up with all your nonsense. For me, this is the most common version that I see and is the most widely available. This is the 4-bone rib roast with one side a beautiful looking ribeye and the other side we got the end, still the ribeye, but the cap is already running away from us. Still a beautiful roast. If you're in the market for one of these, you're gonna run into loads of different versions of this, but most of them will look like this. The more expensive ones are gonna have a beautiful thick fat cap sitting on top of them. Some come with perfectly clean bones, but honestly, more important than that is the flavor. So what you're looking for is a little bit of intramuscular fat and preferably meat that has been aged a little bit. So now what is the first thing to do? Well, we're going to fire up the barbecue because time management is one of the most important things when you're cooking a rib roast. You want to serve it up to the dinner table to absolute perfection. There can be no failure. You spend a lot of money, we're gonna do this right. I'm gonna be cooking on the Napoleon Grill Kettle Grill Pro. First thing that I'm gonna do, take the grill grates out. As you can see, I still have the bricks in that are going to be the separation. I'm going to set that up. And behind the bricks, I'm going to put my briquettes. It's going to be my direct zone, and the other side where there are no briquettes is going to be my indirect zone. Once I got those in, I'm going to put a couple of fire starters, 1 or 2 briquettes on top of that. And then I'm going to light them up. I'm going to place a chunk of smoke wood on top of the briquettes. And during the cook, I'm going to be looking out for, did I smoke the roast enough or do I need to take it away? And I'll show you exactly what you need to look for to know if it's smoked enough or not. I'm already going to put the grill grates back in. And while we wait for this to start up, we can already start preparing our beautiful rib roast. Since this is a thick cut of beef, I want to put on loads and loads of flavor. And for that, I'm going to need a binder. Now, binder is something that helps the seasoning stick to the meat. In this case, I'm going to use a local mustard, a little bit coarse in structure, and that's going to build up the crust. It's going to give texture to the outside of the crust. It's going to help the seasoning stick. And on top of that, it tastes freaking delicious in combination with the barbecue seasoning. Once the whole roast is covered in a thin layer of mustard, I'm going to apply the base layer of Texas barbecue seasoning. Then I'm going to follow it up with some beef seasoning. Now the roast looks good and it holds a lot of flavor. To start, I'm going to place the roast over indirect heat with the thick part towards the outside of the kettle grill. This is where the airflow is the fastest and the meat will cook faster because of it. Close the lid, set the top vent all the way open and the bottom vent to almost all the way closed. Now let the barbecue come up to a temperature of 140 degrees Celsius, which is around 280 degrees Fahrenheit. And don't forget to use the thermometer so that you can measure the core temperature of the roast. You need it to be absolutely perfect. The roast has been on for 45 minutes and the temperature is rising. Now I want to get it under control. You see there's a lot of smoke going on. We're going to take a quick sneak peek at the rib roast and see what it looks like. Wow, that looks good. Except we're going a little bit too hot. We still got plenty of smoke wood. And I can see that I have a little bit of smoke flavor on the outside of the roast, but it's not near enough from where I want it to be. I need this to dry up a little bit and get it nice and crunchy on the outside. Another thing that I notice is that I can see a little bit drying here on these edges. These are going a little bit faster than the flat parts, so that's coming. Now you can see with the lid open, flames start to pop up, so I'm going to close it again. And I'm going to close the lid even further. And closing the top vent about halfway. And that should dampen the airflow enough to get that temperature to stabilize. I'm now 1 hour and 40 minutes into the cook and I want to check out the rib roast with you again and whoa, look at that. The outside looks amazing. We built up a beautiful crust and didn't burn anywhere yet, and that is important. I need to have color on the outside because that color means flavor, but I don't want to overdo it. So we still have that chunk of smoked wood in there. I'm going to take that out right now because now I've reached the point where enough is enough. Let's get rid of this. Even though it looks very intense with the flaming smoked wood, it is still going low and slow, especially with the lid closed. So it's probably going to take a little while longer. It says another hour and 20 minutes to go. So I'll be here for that duration, waiting for my barbecue to be finished. And that rib roast, it looks so freaking delicious already. Okay, we got about a half hour to go. I want to make a delicious sauce, but I don't want to do any hard work. I mean, you got loads of things going on when you're making a roast for all these people coming. The sauce needs to be the easy part. However, we do want it to be impressive. So that's what we're aiming for. Now I got a shallot here, and the trick with a shallot in a sauce is you want to slice it nice and fine. You know, you can go crazy fine. You can even grate it if you want. And this whole idea is based on a bit of a French twist. We're gonna put it in some butter in the pan, melt that, and then add the shallots. Once the butter melted, you're going to lower the temperature. We don't need any browning of the shallots. We just want them to be glazy. Now you're going to add green peppercorns. Just a couple of them, maybe 10, 15 or so. A little bit of that vinegar from the green corns. I got some tawny port. We're going to use that. There we go. Reduce that, put in about half a cup. I'm using tawny port because it is a little bit sweet, a little bit sweeter than red wine. If you're using red wine, you can just add a pinch of sugar to it to make it a little bit sweeter. Once it's reduced by almost half, you're gonna add this. This is demi-glaze. It's basically what all chef uses as their basis for any sauce. That's going to sound a little bit weird because chefs always say we're going to make those sauces from scratch, but nowadays kitchens don't have that luxury anymore. Because if you want to make a good demi-glaze, it's going to cost you 10 to 15 hours to make one. And basically a demi-glaze is a big reduced font with a really, really lot of flavor. Now that I got my bases set, I'm going to put it in a pinch of salt, give it a quick stir. I want to do a taste test. That is good. Needs more salt though. And now you basically made a really, really great au jus. I'm just going to show you later on what we're going to do with this, how to plate that up and make it look freaking delicious. See how it comes to a boil? I'm going to reduce this to about half until I have the flavor intensity that I'm looking for. This should be a real beef booster. Now this sauce you can literally make in under 5 minutes. The reducing might take a little bit of time, but it doesn't take up all of your time. And I think that is the most important part. Through a strainer, into the cow, loads and loads of flavor, ready to go at a moment's notice. I just got the notification I have a total cooking time of 3 hours and 11 minutes. And wow! Oh, it looks even better than it did before. This is freaking beautiful. I'm just gonna grab this and put this. Wow, what a beauty. This thing is so gorgeous. This looks so good. It is one hunk of juiciness. Immediately, I'm going to transfer this grill from a indirect setup to a direct setup. I'm gonna add some charcoal. Mix it up with the briquettes. And now I have a super large grilling surface. I went from only a small part from heat to a large grilling surface. I'm going to leave it open. I'm going to open the bottom vent all the way. And I'm just going to give that beautiful roast a little touch of fire just to crispen up the outside a little bit. Get rid of some of that moisture. This is such a beautiful thing. We got the crust, we got the juiciness. This has been cooked to perfection. What is happening at the moment is that we're doing the reverse sear. So we cooked it to the temperature that we liked with adding smoke and flavor on all sides. But now we're waiting for the temperature to stabilize out so it stops cooking. It's basically the same thing when you boil the eggs, put it in cold water, scare them a little bit, and so they stop cooking. This is the exact same thing, only with a rib roast. After about 10 minutes of resting, it's time for the sear. I'm just gonna keep my gloves on. Woo! That's a little bit of the melted fat. Wow. You see, we're only gonna need a short sear. And I'm only doing this for about a minute or so because the crust is already looking so good. I don't want to destroy it. I just want to add a little bit more flavor. How did it turn out? I'm just going to slice this in half and we're going to take a look inside. And then you tell me if you think this is a success and something to give a try this year, or if it's a big skip. Well, I think that is our answer right there. Oh, wow, that looks so good. See this? This is what it's all about. So what I'm going to do for the fancy part, I'm going to cut the eye of the ribeye off, like that. This is for the meat lovers. You know, when you're slicing this at the table, people are eyeballing this, and the people that are literally eyeballing this, they want this piece. They don't care about that piece, they want this piece. Those are the ones that you reserve this for. Of course, I'm also doing the fancy stuff. I'm just gonna pour in some of that gravy. So my plate is ready. Square that up. And then put it on the plate. This is about a fancy pants portion. This is for me a real celebration. I can't imagine if you're putting this on the table and serving it up like that, man, people are going to be super, super impressed with you. Why not give it a try? The sauce is super easy. People are going to be impressed with the sauce too. And the only thing you did was buy a thermometer and this time measure the roast and cook it in the right way. Too easy. You can do it.